Just in the shop here, working on a few skulls, multitasking. Gonna go outside there and show you guys the snow. I'll come in and we'll skin a beaver. Trying to get some spring birds that were hanging around in the trees to come down here. So the snowbank's about 5 feet high now. Lots of fun. We're just keeping this shoveled back there. We had these troughs keep plugging off, and then there's a bit of a low spot here that backs up and flooded the basement a couple years ago. So we're trying to stay on top of that. We got all the snow here up to the 6-foot fence. All right, let's go inside here and flesh and board the beaver. So just sharpening up my knife here. I'm by no means a knife sharpening expert. I wish I could do it a little bit better, but the last couple of strokes are on the bottom side of the knife just to curl the edge up so it rides a little bit better. Other beaver knives I've used over the years are this one here. I can't remember the brand name of it. I think it's a Post or something. I had it for a long time. Then this one here. This one's not bad for some of it, but I prefer to have this one here. Just a Victorinox knife. Good steel. I like the angle. It rides good along my fleshing beam here, which we'll see here in a second. So I started doing this beaver down here on the floor. You probably can't see it, but then I realized, or Blake came in and explained to me that wasn't recording. So we'll start out again. At least we can get right to the end and figure it out. So these beavers were bought last spring and were more or less bought for bait and caster. And then I was gonna flash them over the summer, just never got around to it. So we'll get to it now. So this beaver was shot in the head. You can see little pieces of skull. So what I do is I hook the nose over the end. Here's the ears, between the eyes. Kind of just start fleshing this a little bit. Get it up to the ear. Clean off the ear butt a bit. Get over the ears. And I've tried to do it over my leg, over my knee, and other ways. I use a knife to get started. I'll do the back, the saddle part with this knife, and then I'll push with the two-handed flesher after. So it works pretty good once you get the hang of her. And I just keep freeing it up all the way down. Down at the base of the body, by where the tail would be, it's thick gristle. So I'll come back and work on that here in a minute. Just like when I do the other animals, I like to leave myself a bit of a point. If you feel it's starting to ride up and not dig in, could be your edge, or you got some fat on your edge. Kind of what's happening here now. Instead of trying to force your knife through it, just take a second, clean off your edge. Start again. Once you get it fairly clean, and you switch over to the two-handed flesher, it goes fairly quick. Getting down to where it's gristly. And I'm by no means to be an expert beaver skinner. Just sharing with you guys what I do. So this is a rough skinned, and if you had it all like that, that'd be a clean skinned beaver. If you keep it tight, keep your edge just right, it'll ride pretty good. I just need to touch my edge up. A couple of strokes on the bottom side of the knife. I know guys that can do a beaver this size in a couple minutes. There's Jackie Warts, and then one of my friends there, Trevor Barnes. He can take a large beaver over his knees and clean skin it in about 10 minutes. And then he just boards them after that. Barely any scraping after. So now I'm getting down to the base of the tail where it's going to be a bit more gristly. So I just bring it up here. Find a good width of the board, hold it tight. And just take my blade and work her off to the edge. This and the lips are probably the worst part of the beaver to do. This is loose fat on that side, so I don't have to worry about that. Bring it back to the gristle. Find my point again. I feel it's starting to ride up, so I got to clean my edge. Just put a little hole there, but it's right on the edge where the leg is. Just a foot, little ridge there I caught, not a big deal. And then now I just have this little strip here to work off until the base there, and I'll be all done the back end. You can find the right angle of your knife and it just pushes off pretty good. That's the secret. It's a sharper knife and have your edge, angle your edge figured out. So I'll clean off my beam. I'm gonna wash this up anyways in the washing machine. So now I go back up to the head, take a look at it, and it looks like I'll plunk that along the edge. And where'd that go? I had to move everything back a little bit just so I could give you guys a good view. Clean my knife off again. So basically just going along the edge and pushing the fat off there. And then I'll go around it one more time. Of course, it's not cooperating as good as I would like. And just push your fat off the edge. And right when you get to the edge, you just curl it up a bit, like that, just so it doesn't cut into the board. Kind of watch when you go over the leg so you don't poke a hole. Give it some good strokes there to clean it up. Get that loose fat out. I'll give it another good cleaning there once I get it on the board. So that's one side done. Go to this side. Always have to watch the nipples. And what I'll do, because I'm working towards the tail, I'll turn it around and work back towards the head. Just to make sure I get everything. There's a little bit of a hole here. Probably an old scar. Just trying to be careful so I don't open it back up. That's the leg there. I didn't poke another hole. And here I just push all what I can of the fat and gristle off the end. And bring it up to the leg hole again and just clean the edge up. All you need is good clean edges and 99% of the fat and gristle taken off. So here's that bite mark, that wasn't me. That was already there. And then here's the head. So I'll kind of push towards the head. Get the lips, push some of that off. Here's the leg, kind of push over that. And like I said, I have some friends that just make this stuff look easy, but I don't do enough beavers to get the good practice. When we go to put it on the board, we're going to cut halfway between the nose and the eyes. I might just take it off at the eyes because this one was shot in the head. So we'll just do that. So I'm just kind of being mindful of what I'm going to trim off anyways. No sense of putting in the extra work to get all the fat and stuff off if I'm just going to trim that section off anyways. So this is all good here. Flip it to the other shoulder. Go. Just get this last little bit by the ear and off to the tip of the nose and we'll be done. There we go. So what we got here, it's pretty clean. I got a little bit of meat here I can push off I missed. So we'll do that now. Or I can catch it on the beam after. This is more or less just a touch-up bit here. And I think we got her. We'll finish this other one here, and then we'll put them both in the washing machine. This one's a little bit bigger. Same thing, just working the fat down along the edge. Okay, well, I'll finish this one up and then we'll, after they're washed, we'll let them dry for a bit, and then we'll put them on the board and I'll show you what they look like after and what I do there. Catch you in a bit. One thing I should show you is when I put my apron on, I got a bungee cord on this side because I'm a fat guy, can reach around and then just hook it in this little loop here and it holds it tight so it doesn't flop around, and then to undo it, just pull. Just like that. So part of my multitasking, degreasing and whitening some antlers here. Takes a little bit of time, and a couple of these, it's my third time going over them just because I want them 100% for the customers. Here's my deer. In the camera it looks a lot darker than it is, but right here it's some staining, so I gotta whiten that up some more. That doesn't look very good in the camera, but it's pretty white. And this is Blake's here. Got some grease coming out of the nose, still have to deal with that. And then this one here is pretty good. Just gonna let it dry a bit more. And then I got some deer and elk to work on. Another deer over there to whiten. These ones are degreased, you just need to whiten them now. Then I'll be wrapped up those for the year, and then I get to start getting all my foothold stuff fixed up and dyed again, waxed. I think they're still good. I had a couple that I have to touch up. And still trying to find a buyer for these. Might just end up sending them to auction and let them sit there. But if I find a buyer for these, I'll share that with you guys. I know a couple guys have been calling me to see if I have a place to send them yet. There's my elk. Haven't touched it yet. Let it dry out, so I'll get that here this summer, and a couple more beavers in here. And yeah, nothing left in there. Everything's out. Got a couple wolf skulls in the freezer here. I'll pull those out and feed the beetles, keep them going. So the beavers came out nice. There, I'm just gonna let them dry like this a little bit. I shook them, and I'll give them a little brush, and then I'll board them after. When I let them dry, I put them leather to leather, just so they don't dry out. And then that'll keep. I'll come back in about half hour or so and put them on the boards. Finished the deers there. Just gotta let them dry and see how they turned out. Always a challenge. I always want to put out the best product I can, and sometimes it is what it is. Just I can't get this dark spot out of there. Maybe once it dries up, it'll disappear, but I don't know. Sometimes they're like that, and then sometimes they're nice and white like that. So let them dry and see where we end up. Okay, I'll catch you guys in a bit. Okay, so we washed our beaver here. Just taking a quick little look at it, spread it out a bit. So this is the nose. Like I said, this one was shot in the head, so here's the hole for that. Washed it. Could have wrung it out a little bit more, but not too big of a deal. Soak some of that up. It'll dry pretty quick. And the first side was dry, or drier. Anyways, so I'm gonna size it on the board. So what you do is grab it from the center where the tail would be, and then between the eyes and nose, where you're gonna put it. And you come back your rings, stretch it. So it's a little bit tight, and then go back 2 rings. 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm gonna put my nails in there. So these are the kind of nails I use. I used to use the penny nails with the rounded heads, but I'd always bang my fingers. And they're a little bit better because they do stay up, or they kind of bend, like when you put them on, they bend in a little bit. So that's just why it's important to make sure you get the right. I'm gonna go right here on this one. Just gotta do a shot, so I'm gonna go a little bit smaller. And then just making sure I stay on the same ring. I'm already off here. Oh no, I was right. Sometimes you second guess yourself when you first get started. You see how all these lines are green? You can get cardboard stencils, and I just spray painted it. I got 4 of them, and I put them on and I spray painted them all at once. So you have that. I got smart on some of the other boards. I spray painted different colors. So say this one would be black and then red and then green, just so I had the pattern that way. Just takes a second to get it started here. One good thing about the table that rotates, it saves you from having to walk around. Might be a little too slack, but should be fine. Another thing I like to do is just take the tail part and open it up. Kind of get it out of the way. I'm going to trim it off anyways. And I'm kind of looking along my edges. Once I get it kind of semi-formed there, I can just take this scraper and just clean up that edge before I nail it. Sometimes you just put a little chunk of fat or something there. This hide is a little wetter than I'd like, but once you get it started like that, then you just put nails about every inch and about 1/8 of an inch into the hide. If you have a bit of a rough edge, I just kind of pull it past. It looked like I nicked it or something when I was flushing it. So I just pull it past and I'll trim that off after. And then here I'm coming to where the tail is. So I know roughly where that line would be. And just kind of carry on. If your nail spacing is too far, you'll get what's called scallop. And if it's too close, you're just kind of wasting your time. And basically what you're after is that oval shape. Kind of the same shape the beaver would naturally be. And then here, I I got the ears, everything kind of lined up. I'm going to trim all this off. I'm actually going to move a little bit more there. Just because that beaver was shot in the head, so I can work most of it off. No value in the face anyway, so. I must have been rushing a little bit when I was skinning these. The cuts weren't 100% along the belly there, but you got the hole over here in the legs. I'll show you guys how to deal with that in a second. Not very exciting watching this part, but one thing, when you go to take the nails off, you can get a block of wood, 2x4, and pop them off this way. What I like to do is I just kind of go on the other nails, and I kind of have my board facing up. So I'll start at the bottom, work my way to the face, and then once I'm at the face, then the last couple pop out, and then I'm done. And then if I miss any nails, they just fall off onto the floor by my feet. And I have a little magnet I use to pick them up. It's a big nail I got in there somehow. With a sheet of plywood, if you don't know, you can make three boards like this, and then you just cut. Can't remember the diameter, but if you look online, you can find that. Sometimes I kind of wish I'd do more beaver. I don't mind handling them fur-wise. Just don't get top dollar for them, for all the work that you put into them. So there we go. This one stretched a little bit more than normal just because I had to wash it. So what I'm going to do now is just trim off the edge a little bit where the tail was and where the face was, or is. You want to be careful, don't pull it too hard because then you'll get that scalloped. I'm just pulling it so it's giving you a little resistance so when you cut it, it doesn't pull away. There. That's good. Then I'll come here. Trim the face off. Now we'll do the legs. But before we get that far, I'll just take my scraper again. Kind of scrape any extra fat along the legs here. I'm going to trim a lot of that off. Okay. When you see how loose that is, that's fine. That'll dry up just fine. I'm going to take the legs. I like to leave my legs long on my beaver while I'm skinning it, then I'll cut it short. Just basically do that. No value in the legs. Can take quite a bit there. Probably take a little bit more off that one, but take a bit more just to match the legs up a bit. It's all about presentation, right? You want things to look even. Your money part of your beaver is from this, between all the four legs there. So if you have any holes in the belly, it's not too bad. Start getting holes here, you're going to get some damaged stuff, and then your price goes down accordingly. So I'll put a couple of nails in here. What I just do is, you can sew the legs shut by talking to some of the fur graders. It looks better, but it doesn't give you any more money. So what I do is I just take the top part, poke my nail through there, pull it over to the other side, overlap them a little bit. And just let them dry that way. I nail my beaver legs even with the same circumference there, just so it looks good. It's the same, kind of like that. When we flip it over, or when it's done, Actually, I'll go grab another beaver here and just show you. So this is a beaver when it's dried. You can see there's no oil. The legs are nice and even with it. Here's the ear butts. We cut between the ears and the nose. And looks good. So beavers, when they prime up, they prime from the belly first. And then they come up to the back. And the last part that primes up is at the base of the neck. So when a grader comes, he'll run his fingers, looking to see if that hair will stand straight up. And they'll be able to tell if that's an early or late beaver. And then if it's rubbed out here, then it's not prime yet. And later on, it starts to get rubbed here and stained from the urine and ammonia from when they pee. It makes them go red rump there. So that's what it looks like. Nice prime leather. It's not shaded or anything like that. The roots coming through. But I just thought I'd show you that. So with this little hole here, could sew it, but I'll just tack it, just like I do the legs. Drop the nail and the knife. There's definitely people out there that do a nicer job on their beavers than me. Some people sew the legs shut. It really just takes me a minute to nail them. But even to sew them wouldn't take that long. Just depends what you're used to. So we're pretty much done. Now what I'll do is I'll kind of, like I just explained in the last part, to prime on the beaver is the base of the neck. So I'll dry it with the face down, and then this will all kind of sag down, and then the next day I'll turn it the other way, and then it'll even out. So this loose skin here is going to dry nice and stiff and tight, just like that other one I showed you. Another thing you have to do is lift your beavers off the board a little bit. I just take a screwdriver and I support the nails so they don't pop up, and just lift it up an inch, half an inch, and then reach in with your screwdriver and lift these ones up as well. I just run my screwdriver along the side of the nail. And the reason why we do that is as it dries, it's going to shrink a bit and it won't tear this way. It'll kind of pull the nails in. And give you a little bit better presentation. It's not going to tear along the edge as it dries. Well, damn, I spent a few minutes talking to myself, ran out of memory on the phone and didn't notice. So anyways, I put it on the board, on the ring there, a nail every 3/4 of an inch, and I pegged the legs even with the outside edge. Trim the nose off, so I just have the ears between the eyes. The tail I trimmed off, made it nice. Gave it another scrape, put the nails in, and then I lifted up the board, or the hide off the board all the way around, and looked good. And then I proceeded to do the other one here. And this one's looking a little bit scalloped. I think when I washed it, the hide's a little bit looser, but the rest of it looks good. It's sagging, their noses are down, so that's gonna drive all the fur down towards the base of the neck. And then once that's dried, then I'll turn it tomorrow and it'll tighten everything up. There was a tear in the hide already before. I didn't bother sewing that up because the money part of the beaver is between the legs here. Yeah, sorry you missed the rest of it and explained a few things, but just scrape it good, make sure it's nice, and don't overstretch it. Kind of the key points. Kind of looks dirty, it's just because I washed it. It'll dry nice. No issues there.